Mekong giant catfish. Imagine hooking into a fish that outweighs a grown adult male 3 times over. That's the reality anglers face with the Mekong giant catfish, one of the largest freshwater fish ever recorded. The official rod and reel record sits at 260 pounds, but a fish pulled from a net in Thailand in 2005 tipped the scales at a staggering 646 pounds and stretched roughly 9 feet long. Here's the crazy part. Despite its terrifying size, this giant is mostly herbivorous, grazing on algae along the riverbed instead of hunting other fish. Adults even lose their barbels entirely as they mature, which is bizarre for a family literally named after its whiskers. Native to the Mekong River basin across Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam, this species is now critically endangered, and every giant caught today likely represents decades of survival against overfishing and dam construction fragmenting its migration routes. But the next giant makes the Mekong catfish look almost tame in comparison.
Wels catfish. European anglers have spent decades chasing one legendary predator, and some swear they've hooked individuals far larger than anything officially recorded. That's the Wels catfish, native throughout Central and Eastern Europe and now established in Britain, Italy, Spain, and Greece, where it's flourished in warm, food-rich rivers with almost no natural predators left to check its growth. Typical adults run 4 to 5 feet, but confirmed specimens have exceeded 8 feet and 220 pounds. Unlike the plant-grazing Mekong giant, the Wels is a committed predator that will eat virtually anything that fits in its mouth. Fish, waterfowl, even small mammals. It hunts primarily by scent and vibration rather than sight, using those taste-covered barbels to detect prey in murky water before closing the distance in a sudden burst of speed. Wels catfish can live for decades, and record-breaking specimens pulled from rivers like the Po in Italy have made international headlines purely for their size. Now here's something nobody expects. The next giant on this list has been linked to actual human disappearances.
Piraba. Deep in the Amazon basin lives one of the least talked about giants in the entire catfish world. The Piraba can measure over 9 feet long and weigh up to 440 pounds, making it one of South America's largest freshwater predators. Silvery gray above with a pale white belly, the Piraba is an active, powerful swimmer rather than a pure ambush hunter, actively patrolling deep river channels for prey. Its enormous size has fueled stories linking it to human disappearances in the Amazon region, but those accounts remain largely anecdotal, and there's no confirmed scientific evidence that Piraba regularly attack people. Still, the sheer power of a 400-plus-pound predatory fish is more than enough to explain why the stories persist. Considered least concerned for now, the Piraba remains one of the most feared and least understood giants in the entire family. Quick comparison before we move on: 3 species, 3 continents, all pushing past 400 pounds. But not every catfish on this list is trying to win a size contest. The next 3 are the ones you've probably already eaten without realizing it. Blue catfish. The blue catfish isn't just America's biggest catfish, it's become one of the country's worst freshwater invaders. In parts of the Chesapeake Bay, these giants are eating their way through native fish populations so aggressively that wildlife managers actively encourage anglers to catch and keep as many as they can. Blue catfish weighing 20 pounds are common throughout their native range, and specimens over 100 pounds are rare in major river systems like the Mississippi and Missouri. The current rod and reel record sits at 124 pounds, caught in the Mississippi River in 2005. You can tell a blue catfish apart from its relatives by its deeply forked tail and straight-edged anal fin, and because it was deliberately introduced outside its native range for sport fishing, it's now spreading through watersheds where it never used to exist. Flathead catfish. Most anglers mistake this next fish for one of the ugliest catches in North America until they see the fight it puts up. The flathead catfish is instantly identifiable by its broad, flattened head and a jutting lower jaw so pronounced that anglers nicknamed it the shovelhead. The world record stands at 123 pounds, caught in a Kansas reservoir in 1998 from a fish estimated to be over 2 decades old. Here's the difference that matters to anyone who's eaten one. Unlike blue and channel catfish, flatheads almost exclusively hunt live prey instead of scavenging dead material, giving their meat a noticeably milder, richer flavor. They rest in deep river holes during the day and only move into the shallows to hunt after dark, and a single female can lay up to 100,000 eggs in one spawning cycle. Channel catfish. If you've ever caught a catfish in the United States, there's a good chance it was this one. The channel catfish is the most widespread catfish species in the country by a wide margin, thriving in everything from massive river systems to tiny community stocking ponds, largely because it's cheap and fast to raise in hatcheries. Most stay under 10 pounds, but the world record reached 58 pounds, caught back in 1964. Young channel catfish are nicknamed croakers for the grunting sound they make when handled, and because they'll strike almost any bait, from stink bait to literal hat dogs, they're considered one of the best entry-level species for new anglers anywhere in the country. Things only get stranger from here. The next species barely looks like a catfish at all.
Red-tailed catfish. Native to the Amazon and Orinoco River basins, the red-tailed catfish is impossible to mistake for anything else. A dark gray-black body, a stark white underside, and a bright reddish-orange tail. In the wild, red-tails can exceed 4 feet and 100 pounds, making them one of South America's most powerful river predators, capable of inhaling prey whole with their enormous mouths. Here's the problem, though. This species has become disturbingly popular in the aquarium trade because juveniles are small and colorful, and most buyers have no idea the fish they just brought home will eventually outgrow almost any home tank on Earth. That's led countless owners to release full-grown redtails into non-native waters, turning an aquarium mistake into a genuine ecological threat. Iridescent shark catfish. Despite the name, this next one isn't a shark at all. It's a close relative of the very first fish on this list, the Mekong giant catfish. In the wild, across the Mekong and Chao Phraya river basins, iridescent sharks can grow to nearly 4 feet, but almost everyone who's encountered this species has only seen the small, silvery juvenile version sold in aquarium stores. Here's what almost nobody realizes. This is one of the most economically important catfish on the planet. It's the fish behind much of the basa and swai fillets sold in grocery stores worldwide, farmed by the millions across Southeast Asia. If you've eaten catfish at a restaurant recently, there's a real chance it came from the same family as a 600-pound river giant. You won't believe what the next species can survive.
Walking catfish. If you've ever seen a fish crawling across a muddy road after heavy rain, chances are it was this one. This next catfish can do something that sounds completely impossible. It leaves the water entirely, uses its rigid pectoral fins and a side-to-side body motion to pull itself across dry land, and survives long enough to reach an entirely new pond. It's able to pull this off because it has a rudimentary air-breathing organ that lets it stay out of water far longer than any normal fish should be able to. Native to Southeast Asia, that same adaptability has turned it into a serious invasive species in Florida, where an accidental release decades ago let it spread through canal systems, outcompeting native fish and occasionally turning up in swimming pools and backyards after a storm. Believe it or not, the next catfish doesn't need to touch you to hurt you. Electric catfish, found throughout the rivers and lakes of tropical Africa, is one of a small handful of fish on the planet capable of generating a genuine electric discharge. Remember that venom stat from earlier? This species skips venom entirely and goes straight to literal electricity, using specialized organs running along its whole body instead of the venomous spine most other catfish rely on. The shock is strong enough to stun prey outright and deliver a genuinely painful jolt to any human careless enough to grab one. Glass catfish. At first glance, it looks like someone forgot to finish coloring this fish. The glass catfish, native to Southeast Asian rivers, has a completely transparent body with almost no scales or pigment at all. You can see its skeleton and internal organs clearly through its skin, most of which are clustered right near the head. Scientists believe this isn't just a cool party trick. It likely functions as camouflage, making the fish far harder for predators to spot in open sunlit water than a solid-colored body would be. And we're saving the weirdest catfish for last. The Candiru is one of the smallest and most infamous catfish on the planet, native to the Amazon basin. This is a genuine parasite. It follows chemical trails through the water to find a host fish, lodges itself inside the gill cavity, and feeds on blood using small barbed spines that anchor it in place so it can't be dislodged. Stories about Candiru entering the human body have made it infamous worldwide, but verified cases are extraordinarily rare, and many of the more extreme claims have been challenged and disputed by researchers. Scientists still debate exactly how often, if ever, this actually happens to swimmers. Still, the core biology is real enough that this tiny fish, barely a few inches long, remains one of the most talked about catfish on the planet.